Welcome back, everybody, to APAC North. Game number 1 about to begin. Spear Gaming versus Talon is first on the chopping block for today. It's Playday number 2 out of 7. September 21st, 2022. There you go. Stage 3 of APAC North. I'm also Medic, your host. With me are Fresh and Demo. Beautiful lads here on the desk, and we're going to talk about these two squads, starting off with Talon, who unfortunately took an L in the last Playday. They did, Milosh, and it's kind of a similar story with Talon all the time, where it's like they play so well, but then they don't find the results. Obviously, they've made another change with Marble dropping out and Kanos coming back in, and it still doesn't look like it's really worked out for them.
Just a bad day for them, wasn't it, in the first day? I mean, look at the kills across the board, look at the EPS. There's no one that you can say played well. And that's a worrying sign, because usually we see teams, they struggle, but there's somebody who's there that you can say, oh, you know what, give credit to them, they played well. That's a promising sign. There's no one there that we can look at and say, yeah, you know what, they could actually, maybe carry this team, have that effect. But at the moment, who do you choose? There's nobody. I mean, the effect that it's happened in the last Playday is for Spear. They went up against Fav. They're the less experienced team, and they made it work. 7-4 victory, getting all 3 points and putting themselves in the top 4 at the start of the day. They did. It's kind of a team where sometimes you don't know what they're going to be like. It's not the case of CAG where they've got different strategies. Sometimes they will just turn up in the server and you think, my goodness, there's a team here. There's Mephi, there's Crazy Boy, there's whoever that can pop off. And then sometimes they just lay down and die, unfortunately. And it's a real consistency issue that they need to work at. And even though they won, if you look at that EPS score, like, Demo just highlighted with the lower EPS in the previous graphic, was that with Spear, Mephi 161, but Crazy Boy right down there, 57. You're literally seeing just how crazy and how different the individual performances can be, and why Spear can't find consistency. I love his player picture as well from Mephi. Just you look at him and say, yeah, I dropped 15 kills. Oh yeah. But no, it's someone that you have to watch out for now. And again, like I said, I think obviously Spear will have more difficult games to go through, but this guy could be a reason why they can make it through those difficult games. Yeah, they like to say that they don't play around him, but he absolutely enables everything. But it's not a bad thing. Literally everything that is good around. BDS played around Shaiko for years. So good. Like, build the team around him. He is that good. He makes. Look at Rogue. He makes the plays happen, and he's got that clutch ability. He's got that entry. He makes the space for his team to actually operate and go through their strategy. I really want to highlight him because he's a massive factor as to why they won last week. It's not shameful to have a playmaker. You have a playmaker in literally every single sport. Why is it not here where you can say, hey, we really have a playmaker and we have a team that is able to support him? The playmaker cannot make the play if they don't have a team around them to support them to make the play. There is one worry with that, though, and I can get where they're coming from, because in Siege, consistency isn't always going to be guaranteed. Because you can, everyone's went into a game where you've just been the most unluckiest guy in the server. Anytime you walk past a barricade, a stray bullet's hit you in the head, you've holding an angle, as soon as you get off the angle, you've been swung. It's moments like that that can really play a bit of a hindrance on anyone in this game. So if you are relying on one person, if he has a bad game, then really what do you do? And I think, we've seen, I mentioned Rogue about, built the team around Spoit. They actually suffered that against Navi. He was having a bit of an off one, and they didn't really know what they could do. True. These are contingency plans that teams have to look up for, and our map, most important one of them all, of course, of all the variables, and one that you can predict pretty well. Cafe Dostoevsky is in Chalet, removed by Talon. They'll be starting on the fens on Cafe, as Spear have opted for the attack. Jack, makes sense? Talk about being able to predict it really well, Milosh. I'm not actually sure you can, because for Spear, when they were known as T1, when they are now, Cafe has been their permaban for literally like the best part of the year. Obviously, the roster's changed very slightly. 11 drops out. They've had a change of identity. They've had a bit of a rebuild in the last few weeks to a couple of months, and it seems that they now do play Cafe. They brought it out. They are going to have to start the attack, which is the dangerous part there. But they've chosen to go attack as well. So it's always a weird one to see Cafe, because it does just play so different compared to really every other map. It's all about window gameplay, which we haven't really had any windows. Obviously, Cafe's window gameplay, but that's really the only map since Consulate got removed. Bring back Consulate, that's why. Exactly. Consulate was the window map that we know about. But yeah, I think jump outs are always going to be there. It's going to be the make or break on attack. Anyone can defend Cafe, because you jump out windows and that's going to disrupt everything. But it's all about making sure that they don't jump out the windows. You have to make sure you keep the control. If you're an attacker, take it slow, contain everyone, and just play your Siege. I think we've seen across the world, across the regions, Cafe is a very defender-sided map. So obviously look out for the teams that
if you have a good attacking half, it sets you up well.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who can actually play that. Playing the attack properly here is the most important part. As you say, Jack, Demo, thank you very much. So to toss it to our casters to get it all started. It's Talon versus Spear, and it's Hap and M. Enjoy.
Well, thank you very much, Milos. And yes, it is, and yes, we are, and yes, here we go. The opening game of the second APAC Playday. Are we going to see a little bit more of a divide between our top 4 and our bottom? Because last week, all clean points.
It was all clean points. Overtime's, of course, what we're looking for here today. See who's going to be able to steal some points away from the other. As mentioned before, on that pre-game desk and as well on the pre-show, every point counts here. Much more heavily than they would in NAL, than they would in EUL. And the reason for that being is there's only 7 play days and there's only 2 spots to be gained for that major. So double as heavy as it would be otherwise. And that means that both these teams who are currently looking to go for a bit of a chase onto that top 2 position are looking to find a full 3-pointer to truly put 6 between themselves and their opponents. Now, Ying, the first one to be removed. Talon deciding they do not want to play against it. Spear continuing on. Flores, so Nuck on the board, still quite some grenades. So we might actually see those come into play now.
I think with Nook's sort of position as well, it's also, for me, that angle of curiosity. Because when we start to get a better idea of the teams that know each other very well, that's when I think that Nook statistic is going to really show its head. We have had Nook banned everywhere. We've had Nook banned a lot everywhere. And we've had Nook sort of in this new role of almost a consistent removal. The massive, massive sort of cost of economy of grenades at the minute with the limitations on who can actually bring them.
There's only 4 operators who currently carry grenades, which, you know, if you ban one, if you then ban a second one, suddenly there's not a lot, a lot of flexibility left to go for them. So, yeah. That's a game that is being played now. Even though the nades have been nerfed, they are still very deadly if precise.
Well, there's 2 teams that do know each other, 2 teams from the same region, and let's have 2 teams try and hit heads, and I guess see if she has a play, because also, for my money, before we did really start to see Nook be this consistent ban, Cafe Dostoevsky was a good map for her. You think of how Nook can play. You think of the positions that she can get herself into without really being dissected and divulged. This is that playing field, the 3 staircases, the route through to the soft underneath top floor holds and other sort of prickly positions. She's built for it.
Definitely is, but we won't see any of that. Valkyrie also to be removed, and the Mirror. Valkyrie, of course, is one of those, well, not new state permabans, but it's one that's returning currently. A lot of the cameras not going to be in play now, needing to find different avenues to find that information. Misa will do so, bringing the Maestro, of course, having the opportunity to zap as well on those bulletproof bubbles. Definitely will be of a bit of help. Verticality will be created still by Talon, just to make sure they can challenge onto that first floor, the entry points most importantly, allow themselves at least a fighting chance if they do decide to come from below.
All stacked up around on the side of the door there, trying to angle some pressure onto the eastern side. It's not the most common drive. It's for a lot of teams actually a sort of plan B, but Siora's just slipped his way in with the buck underneath, sees a fight and takes the head off of Misa. What an early opener that is for Siora. A bit of free territory in the bloody for the trouble. Demic, he's going to have to sit and wait underneath and try and hope that there isn't an entire flood of the players behind him as the buck gets to work.
Starting to open up vertically here. Demic still in a good position, as you just mentioned, to see if they can go for a bit of a challenge. The buck does get spotted out, but Siora needs to be a bit careful here. Could have gone for a second as Talon is going to be able to find NL to take through, and it's suddenly they start falling all over the map.
Yeah, it's a drop into the site itself. It's Demic and Siora once again able to find a body each. Suddenly a 2 versus 1. Siora a triple kill, all from directly underneath the site itself. Leaves Hedy alone. The other player currently rappelling just out on the window. The upside down rappel. Hedy's going to have to keep himself a little bit of an arm's distance between the two, but you look at what's missing on the left and it's the kit. It's found itself a little bit stuck elsewhere, and with Crazy Boy off, it's now just the buck underneath. He's trying to do a little bit of reverse fishing. Hasn't quite been able to find the fight itself, but at this point in the 1 versus 1, it's just going to turn into a bit of an aggressive swing up the white stairs. You can hear the bubble whirring and whirring. They're trying to get the call on the intel. It's a swing for a fight, and it's Heady that locks it out. And I mean, it's a bit of an explosive hello.
It definitely was. Suddenly they all started dying all over the map, and it ends up in that 2v1 situation, clutched out by Heady. Well done by him as they hold on to their first defensive site. But there is definitely some issues they need to address here. Losing your players vertically like that. I mean, they did make these entryways. They did open up to set themselves up to try and go for a challenge. But if you lose your Maestro this early on, the one operator that can control those cameras, use them for a bit of a post plan. It's not quite like losing Echo, so you lose control of the Yokais, but it is in the same little area there because Echo drones usually are a bit more impactful at the end of a round, but eventually still clutched out. So they managed to hold on and will be heading down towards the next site, which is going to be the kitchen. Down in that ground floor. Not the basement. This map does not have one. It's one of the few.
No, you're right. You're correct.
Yeah, thank you.
I see you've seen buildings before.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I've been studying them every now and then.
Studying them. It's like basement. Yes. Basement.
This one? No basement. No, just ground floor.
You're right.
First and second, or second and third, depending on which system you use. That's still confusing to me.
What you're also potentially right about in the conversation that we sort of alluded to before is the pocket utility. Glaz is one of those operators that can bring frags, but he's also an operator who has a specific drive and a specific ability alongside a smoke canister. So with his use, you'll very often see this instead. What we have only started to get a taste of is in the pockets of Dokkaebi. The new pocket EMPs that are close impact, much smaller radius than thermite charges. You got to be very precise with them, but you can really set yourself up for a quick pace and drive behind the likes of those grenades in the pockets of the Iana. If they're wanting to try and get control of the bakery, well, it might come a little bit later. The first fight is actually over in the coat room, all the way down the middle of the site itself. I believe that's the Glaz that's gone through the front door. It is Mephi. He's looking for an engagement around the bottom of Brown Stairs. They've just sort of flooded themselves in once again towards the awkward sites and sites of this building to give themselves sight lines across the whole floor.
Yeah, they want to see if they can potentially dislocate the player inside the VIP. And as the second smoke canister gets used, Mephi is a bit aware of the fact that he might receive some pressure. A soldier's still out there. Keeper barriers to be tossed up. Demic gets the first. That's Royboy out of the equation here, so that gives a little bit of pressure relief against Talon.
This is it, though. The problem when you go with such a wide take, I mean, that was a hell of a shot round the corner, but at the same time, they've given themselves just 1 versus 1s, and Talon aren't sitting and waiting. They're swinging to these fights. They're not letting Spear go for these very wide setups and holds. They're more than happy to find the engagement as the lead into this. Heady on the back line. He obviously pulled out the round previously, but this time he's got a lot more support. Crazy Boy massively injured on the far end as well. Sayora, he had a good previous round, but at this point, with a minute left and a slow creep of Crazy Boy elsewhere, he's going for almost a solo clear of the rest of the building.
Just trying to find himself in a good spot where he can use some influence on this round. It is a 2v4, it is still clutchable, but this player, Canos and Harry Potter here, he's definitely going to be able to go for a bit of a gunfight here. Sayora sneaks in, is going to be picked up, and Canos will find that final kill easily for Talon. The second round will go their way. Nowhere near as close as the previous one. A lot of the balustrades there actually catching the 416s rounds, but eventually did come through. Now, 2-0. As Talon is taking that lead, they're expanding on it. And I just wanted to say, there is a lot of confidence on that Talon squad, because if a Logi bomb goes off, usually what people do is they fall back a little bit, they turn off their phone, say, Mom, not now.
No, busy.
I'm busy. And then they go back into the fight. But what you saw here instead is like, the phone's going off, I might be pushed, why don't I just swing them as they try and come through? They know exactly where you are. That sound is coming closer and closer. They know they're going to go for a swing, but yet you still win it out because, as one wise EWL player once said, swing or be swung.
Swing or be swung. I think there's also a bit of a problem here in the way Spear are approaching this. As I said before, it's off takes. You don't always see the sort of lead in from the side of East, the quick dash into Library. It's a clever play and it almost worked out for them. But then you're looking at where they're losing these engagements, as we just had in the most recent round. it's 5 different 1 versus 1s that are happening across the board. Talon is choosing to lean into these engagements while Spear are trying to communicate. And, you know, the communication of, well, what's everyone doing, what's everyone taking is very different to someone's on white gonna swing it, which is seemingly how Talon are responding. They're waiting for the call of the barbs, they're waiting for the hit, and then leaning into the fight, the calls as well, as we saw onto the coat room door. And it's almost this problem that we saw a long time ago from this Spear roster, which is slow setups around all sides of the map. They lose one body and suddenly everything starts to fall apart.
The thing is, right, it's not like they don't want to work together, because you see them slowly set up, one outside the window, one outside garage, one underneath the brown stairs. They want to be isolating that player in VIP, but Talon's just not having it. They realize what's going on, and as you said, they just swing it. They disrupt the game style that Spear want to go for, and as a result, they're not allowed or not capable of playing as a team truly. They're not there for the refrags. They're not there to like pinch someone out of their position within the first couple of seconds to provide themselves that space. Talon is just everywhere, and they are not afraid of swinging, and that's really helping them out so far.
Well, we'll hopefully be back in just a moment. 2 rounds in a row on the defense of Cafe. Cafe does play itself well. The defenders teams that can sort of get themselves set up and ready to rock and roll. Hey, there's the Nook. Will it stick?
It is just a very good operator, but Ash being brought out straight away. Seeing a little bit more of her as well, as of course in the first couple of years of Siege, she was the definition of entry after being slightly forced back towards support. But Nook coming out again, so not quite certain of what they want to go for. Amaru on the board as well. Gridlock to stop any of these flanks from potentially building up. So what this tells me is they want to take control of that top floor quickly. You get those track stingers out on the staircases, you try and clear out that top floor. Afterwards you can sing your buck in, maybe even together with the Gridlock with the secondary shotgun. She carries to open up the flooring, try and get some verticality going, and after that you can potentially go for a plant. That is a shotgun on Amaru.
I mean, get close, get killing.
I mean, you do have the SMG, and NL feels confident with it, possibly.
It is worth sort of pointing out that all the way back to the sort of Open 2021 Korean finals, Spear, throughout the iterations, haven't been able to take anything off of Talon. Talon have always generally had the upper hand in the showdown of these two teams. Spear come into this with a little bit of momentum behind them. They're obviously big roster changes since that date, but here, I mean, Talon, they just seem comfortable against this team. They know the read on Spear. They know how to sort of put the pressure on the approach. They're more than used to it. They're tucked in on the corner. Misa's in a position to try and lead in on this fight. How aware are they of this swing, and are they going to wait for somebody to offer some support? It seems like they're going wide, and they're not going to do anything with it. NL off the board.
There's the ammo gone. There's a shotgun out of play as well. And the rotate coming through. Mephi will find a kill, fortunately, onto Misa. If that would have been a whiff, it could have been a third kill to come through from the Melusi on that roam. But the damage already done. 2 players taken out. Your buck is gone. Your Amaru's gone. Lost some of that soft breach, and your diffuser, most of all, has been dropped. In the meantime, recovered though by Roy Boy, but you have 90 seconds left to find these remaining 4 players of Talon. You have nothing from the top floor yet, so all you can really do is push horizontally now.
I mean, that's it. 3 players down to this single swing and a loose thread on the bottom. As you said, they want to try and go for these clears, and, you know, I'm glad after I picked up the Nook at the beginning that they're actually achieving things, but how much more can they achieve? The drop on the drone, the movement of the player just round the corner, heard those footsteps get very heavy and a little bit softer as they're opening up towards the hatch itself. C4'd the window, but nobody was currently home as Roy Boy tries to creep his way up Brown and looks and angles towards the rooftop.
Pulls quickly trying to find some information. Soldier there. Doesn't find anything yet, which means that that top floor is still clear. That'll definitely have made some noise there, so the air jump has been set up to deny any aggressive pushes out towards the pillar side. Mephi in the meantime as well, near the engine room. Soldier will soon pick up on some of these harpies. There you have it. It's going to be calls coming through. 1 in the first floor 90. Grenades to be rolled out to at least stop them from running after him.
It's actually a good thing the Banshee was there for the side of the Nook. They thought they were sneakier than they might have been, but the cordon on the pulse was the cordon off. Mephi suffers as he goes through. Royboy next, but you're looking at 10 seconds, and they got to try and find a way through into an entirely locked site itself. The spray comes across the back. Demic has the lockdown onto Zulu. Demic has one more. Crazy Boy gets the trade out, but the kit needing to be planted. In 3 versus 1, he's covered by the smoke. At this point, you assume Talon are just going to do this. The C4 over the top. Saves his life.
Yeah, decides to not go through with that plant. Was definitely going to be dying there. So 0-3. And they managed to at least bring it more up to a bit of pace in the last couple of seconds. But again, because of that early engagement on the bottom floor, where 2 1v1s were handed out to Misa, who managed to pick both of them, then spots out the Nook down below as well. They realized, okay, the top floor relatively clear. We can keep on holding on to that. 90 seconds wasted. They need to just go horizontally right now. There is no time to still clear out that top floor, to go for verticality, and then see if you can get that plant down onto the default spot. They needed to get into engine. That's exactly what they did, but too locked off by Talon, who are in complete control of this game so far.
Oh, no question. They have really found themselves in the driving seat of this engagement. Spear, they're still sort of warming up. They're still testing different doors and different angles and seeing which one is the one that they can find a route through on. And, well, every single time they do, they lose about 2 bodies before they even get a taste of Talon. And, I mean, the perfect rotation for them as the start. For them, they're still not going to take their time out. I mean, you do expect, obviously, if this round goes away from them, just to have a moment and see what they can pull back here. It is Cafe. 4 rounds for the defense, again, isn't the worst thing, but 4 in a row probably highlights more than 4 in a row.
Especially the way Talon has been capable of achieving that. It is pure aggressive swings whenever Spear tried to set up a bit of an approach, a bit of an attack, just not really letting them lean into the gameplay they want to focus on. And they continue that with some of these spawn peaks attempts that we see made. Of course, no one really walking through there, but it's some valuable information as well for the rest of Talon. As the hatches start to get opened up now, Sayora doing that on that buck. Quickly checking the window as well to get rid of the Mew Gemmer, so breaches can be made afterwards.
Wow, can they move behind this smoke? They're close, tucked around. Demic's underneath with the C4, and it's Sayora that once again gets that opening engagement. The smokes are covering off the angle. There's a bit of fire on Soldier. He's still suffering, and it goes down and cooked by the Capitao. He's trying to get a plant down, but he's dropped from the swing inside the core vault. Now holding the angle, hoping that they lean back in. The pop of the E1D. They're going to just go for the recollection of the kit. Pre-fire and takes the kill. Suddenly it's a 4 versus 1. Then there's the end of it. Royboy with the watch down. A much more successful round from Spear Gaming. But a couple of mistakes there from the side of Talon.
Yeah, for sure. And it all led in with the Capitao putting down the smoke balls. It was like, surely you're not just going to go in and try and go for the plant. That's exactly what it did. The incendiary ball perfectly placed to get rid of the player close by. I thought it was going to be a small safe haven that he could be sitting in the way it was placed, but apparently not. And then a beautiful headshot onto the player right behind the second desk as well. You get those 2 entries, suddenly you find yourself in a really good position, especially if you then know a third player is inside that core vault, as you called it. You can just, like line E1D, you toss a flashbang in. There's no way that player is coming out alive if you go for that push. They really like the supernovas.
The suppressed supernova.
Yeah.
It's back, baby.
It is back.
I mean, was it ever here before, actually?
I mean, the thing is, you did lose quite a bit of damage if you use a suppressor, right? You lost like 20% of the damage.
Yeah, oh, 100%.
And that's now no longer the case. So shotguns with suppressors, you're just going to take 80 damage and you have no clue where you got hit from.
And they sound cool.
And they sound cool, yes.
A big part of this. Look at that.
Just a giant little click. That's all I hear. I don't know what it does for the spread of the shotgun, actually, suppressor.
Go run the numbers.
I know the laser, of course, makes it tighter, but I don't know if the suppressor does anything like that. Could be. Possibly. Either way, we do have a Echo on the board. You might see some of those yokai drones to be used as a entry for some of the roamers or for a bit of support if pressure does come through. And of course, they just lost their first round after 3 very dominating ones to some extent. The Spear went for a quicker pace. They just decided to go with it, and it worked out for them. They didn't give the opportunity to Talon to be swinging them, and they instantly find success.
The Echo getting a little bit of the reconnaissance across the flat floor. It's a fairly common pick onto what it can offer onto this site, and then obviously with the drive through. But here's Royboy on the hunt for a player just tucked around onto the side of Laundry, who's going to have the first bit of awareness. Well, yeah, you got a startling discovery there that it's the Jackal that's on their trail. They cannot sit around. They would be very quickly isolated and almost sprayed through the softs there. Mephi with the pushback here again. This is much better for my money from the side of Spear, because although they're going for these close downs, they're doing it with options. They're doing it with a retreat, and they're doing it where they're not handing so many bodies into these pockets of fire, which are causing massive rotates. They're getting some control for the danger they're putting themselves in.
Yeah, and they do have quite a bit of that control now, which they will be utilizing. You see the cluster charges going off, just to take care of any utility and players potentially inside that freezer, and now opening up the hatch as well at that same time. Suddenly, you have a room open up directly on the side. That's something we haven't seen from them in the first 3 rounds. So they're definitely improving after that last round semi-rush that we've seen. That's, of course, what you'd love to see.
I mean, lessons learned, but can they try and find the final finish? A minute on, and Crazy Boy's getting control down on the side of the bottom of White. They have their angles, they have their ideas, and they know what they're angling up for here, but with all 5 players still alive on the side of Talon, they can potentially reposition themselves. You've obviously got the control over Coffee, the swing onto the sink plant if they wanted to go for it as well. It's the Buck now that's going to see if they can try and force more and more of these players out on the side. A second swing round, and the hope of catching them, but where the Azami is tucked in that corner, they can do pretty well with it. 30 seconds left. Royboy's finally able to find the first. More and more of them are forced off, but again, they just sort of drop themselves with a wider hole. They're just trying to swing into the site. They're tucked by the chassis on this. They get the kill. Behind the plant, the C4 over the top. There's an Echo drone there too, but the C4 does the work, and there's an Echo drone now perfectly placed above. 15 seconds, the cover of the smoke. This one should be an easy pickup. They should get the response to the second drone comes around. There's the first. They're going to get the shot on that. The second is placed above. Hetty with a huge rotate round. He's able to get one on the top of the head. The plant goes down. He's able to find the next. They're behind the tucked in corner, the Azami, and they've got one on control above, but Canos gets the main kill. 3 versus 1, looking for the fight at the angle. Sees one. They're going for the defuse. You've got to find the fight, mate. You've got to find them. Hetty just sticks it out, and that is a Talon retake.
Well done by them there. I was afraid for a second when that C4 came through that it would be destroying the Yokai drone, but just outside of reach, able to get one more stun in, provide a bit of security for the remaining of the players to get themselves in a position for when that plant would eventually go down. Well done by Talon. Kept their composure there, even though they did lose out 2 of those players early on. But I have to say, Spear, this looked much better from them compared to what we've seen in those first 3 rounds. They got some quick control of the second floor. They got quick control of that first floor, then used that to open up vertically, use those fuse charges to clear out the space, because the way they were using it, both the vault and, of course, the kitchen service area were going to be cleared out of players. That means you can drop through that hatch. The only worry you would have is the VIP player. If you make it past that, you can go for that plant if it wasn't for the C4 and the Yokai drone still being in place. Of course, it's the Yokais quickly got taken out after the revelation was made, but it was just too late. Plant did go down in the end, but too many losses already taken.
Talon, they bite back. It was still massively improved from the side of Spear, though. They have the chance to get themselves a 4-2 split, when to be honest, it really didn't look likely around the halfway point of this, the opening half. There's still a little bit more that Talon can try and do to warm up back into this game, and it might be some early swipe strikes that they perfected of those opening 3 games. There's a bit of a drone and a catch out there. The Malusi's forced further and further away from Kochek. The catch of NL should hopefully hold them a little bit closer than they otherwise wanted to be, but the Pulse is there to offer some running, gunning support.
Gunning maybe not as much, more so I think the C4 tossing that one up on the ceiling as soon as they do get a little bit of a spot on that heartbeat scanner. The thing is though, Spear is coming from below. Usually Pulse will be looking upwards rather than downwards, so I'm wondering if they have a clue. Oh, they have it. That's going to be one spot coming through, knowing that that garage has been breached. The second one as well, so definitely aware of the fact that it's coming from below them now. Means they just need to keep that composure now, see what they can do to stop them from truly moving up these staircases.
Steady gain on awareness, and a steady hold here as Spear go back to the setting up game that they've done the safety that they've learned or arguably been taught by the guns of Talon. They have themselves a backline. And as I said before in the previous round, although the pressure was being put on them, Talon moved themselves pretty perfectly around the swing of it. The break of the grenades just caught close, but nobody was close enough to suffer the catch. As they've got themselves stacked up around the side. The pressure on the swing and on the window here. They're going to try and force out the pulse, but the pulse is an awareness and a C4. It catches perfectly. Crazy boy, and there's Heady to get the follow-up onto the head of Mephi as well. Suddenly in a swing, they've lost 2 of their players. Siora tries to fight his way back through the mining area. Tucked now onto the train chassis.
Well played there by Talon. Initially, they managed to take care of the white stairs pressure and of the window, meaning the rest will be coming down from the northwest. You are now safe with your backs up against the wall. You can start focusing on just that singular area. But as Robo is starting to creep up towards the white stairs, as Canas hiding out there, the Banshee will be giving away the game. Surely will get swung on, but a bit of impatience from Canas will lead him to be punished for it. And that will mean it's a 3-on-3 now.
30 seconds, a 3-on-3. They really were gifted that last kill there. Can they try and capitalize upon it? They've put the pressure inside. Enna with the lockdown onto Heady around Pillar. It's a swing into the side. The last, well, he's gone as well. And Spear Gaming, just on the tail end of the half, are able to hold on. And as you said, a bit of impatience there from the guns of Talon.
They did so well at the start, right? I mean, they managed to take out the Nux sneaking up from the white stairs. They managed to find Dokkaebi, who was putting down pressure from the window. If those 2 players would have still been up as the execute happened, there was no chance that Talon was coming out victorious in that round. So they had their back secured. They could just be focusing on the players coming in from the north, from the top, and from the west. But then they get impatient. They started taking these gunfights, which they really did not have to do. You just wait. You have that utility there. You have the Banshees. You will be alerted if a player is out there. Instead, they went just a little bit too quickly. Got themselves punished for it. And found Spear a second round in a half where, for the majority of it, Talon looked to be in charge. So, for Spear, good recovery, especially after that 3-0. Now they need to try and find a difference to make sure that they can at least push this to a 6-6, but maybe even find themselves a regulation victory.
This is a very important round for the potential drive here, whether Spear Gaming win it out or not. Talon managed to try and find a little bit of that energy they had as the opener up previously, because as we've definitely seen, Spear has started to warm into this game. They've warmed into what their opponents can do, and doing is half the battle. Like the knowing is the other half.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Honestly, having a clue of what's going on is going to be helping you so much in your prep phase. So it's a good one to go with. I'd like to keep a barrier to actually just put down into piano there.
It's a good strat. I mean, it's an angle that we've seen played before. Sometimes when Mira's on the board, you'll have her be that long extension. You make sure it isn't rotatable, but definitely an angle. Here they've gone with the rotate and the Azami to give themselves this. A little bit of in and out movement. It's a slightly off angle, and you can put pressure, as you said, onto piano, onto those windows, so people can't quite get as comfortable as they used to, which means that the castle on Cigar, is also more supportive. It's that sort of step for step for step, and the growth. The Azami is protecting the castle, but now they are going to be the first target, and you assume there's going to start to be a bit of a cacophony of explosions. That one doesn't quite get anybody that's tucked around, and his army's going to pull themselves back and just hold off for a second.
The thing is, if they do decide to use the impacts to get rid of those barriers, they have it. Just a new one pops up, a reinforcement will follow up right afterwards as well, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Smart. The castle's gone as well. They may as well.
And they may as well just lock it off. You don't really want to play there anymore. They've opened up what they need to open up. And see, and the second impact used to get rid of the keeper barrier, but they were already long gone. So that's just a waste of utility at this point. I like this one. Just give Mephi a bit more security.
There is the little tuck-down bulletproof that he can sort of hide behind and pop up at an inopportune time as Demic goes to get control of Cigar. He's looking across the top here. There is also the opening swing with the angle to the right-hand side, and there's the Hibana giving themselves a little bit more range against the Azami that was put on the top. Demic, though, gets the kill. Crazy Boy tried to get rid of the X-Kairos on it. They didn't know Cigar had fallen. Now the pressure comes behind it. Soldier hit on the side of Piano, but it's a close fight that Mephi wins out, looks for the next, and they're pushed back further and further, tucked into the side of the corner. You can see now they're still trying to get some control. Demic's able to find the swing round onto the top of white. Seora has a bit of cover. They have a player underneath as well, and they need to start making a bit of motion. It's otherwise falling apart. The last is Roy Boy, a very quick route to the top, and oh no! Oh, he almost scuffed that one. Gets the kill in the end. Heady's going to find the plant. More than enough time for them to get themselves set up. Swung around. The castle's going to cause a little bit more of a problem on the rotate. Cigar is the end, and Talon, they put themselves further in the lead.
I'm going to be crediting this one to Demic mostly. Just walking in, getting 3 kills like that, he really opened up the majority of the site to allow that plant from happening, because if you looked at it purely from a utility standpoint, they used most of it to get rid of those keeper barriers, of those castle barricades, but they weren't able to deal with these strongholds that have been tossed up by Spear Gaming. So there's just one way you can go at it then. If you don't have utility left anymore, it's just to brute force yourself through the site towards those strong points. Hope for the best. Take the kills as you do. And Spirit, they have called a tactical timeout now, because this is where it gets dangerous. Talon are a round away from picking up 8 points and also having the opportunity to fight for 3. And that is something, of course, they would like to and prefer to avoid on the side of Spear, as they have found themselves with a victory on their first day, of course, and would be willing to chase down that top 2 position early on.
It is just a lot of knowledge. I think it's a huge amount of knowledge on what pressures they can put here onto Spear. You can tell that these two teams are used to each other. These two teams have butted heads many, many times. I like the ideas that Spear are putting forward on their defense. I like the ideas that Talon are putting forward as well. But when you have two teams with the knowledge, you look at the positioning of Demic, you look at how they're responding to each other. It's a very swift response. There's that sort of known about the unknown here, and as Spear Gaming, they finish their timeout. They've got a lot of work left to do. 3 rounds of perfect rotation just to be close to stopping this go to OT, just to be close to stopping any points.
It's a very, very hard ask for Spear right now, but it's definitely going to be doable for them if they manage to tighten up a little bit more, because as I said, if you looked at this top floor hold the last time around, strategically, they were looking strong. They were able to waste as much of the utility as they possibly could. 2 impacts, 2 grenades. There was nothing left to take care of that last couple of keeper barriers. It's just that Demic was very sharp and just walked in and killed them all, right? It's like, you should not let that happen.
That did occur, yes.
So if that didn't happen, they would have won the round, for my opinion. So that is something they need to pay attention to for this round.
All right, Talon. 1 round separates you from guaranteed points. It's you from all 3. And with, as we said at the very beginning of this, the board being as decisive as it was before, you want to make sure that you sort of have that full fat points win based on everybody getting it last week. It makes the sort of table a lot more decisive, makes it a lot more separated. Pressure over the top 2 hatches. Once again, the control over Cigar. It's your standard take here. You trickle down like rainfall, start at the top and steady your hand downwards.
Some of you might be wondering why they don't just use a sledge, who was out there as well with the sledgehammer. Why waste 4 Excaros? I think they're afraid of potential C4s to be tossed up as soon as the sledgehammer hits, so choosing some safety over using the optimal utility of that hammer. Probably aware of the fact that those 4 Excaros should not make the difference to their attack in the end, so that is why I assume they have gone for the route they chose.
It also could be Demic's having such a great game. He just said, I don't want to do it. You can't really argue. Mephi, he's able to get in. Seora, he's able to get it a second as well. He's kept popping up as a problem child, a late reinforce. Just survived by a fraction of a head. Demic couldn't quite get the catch there. The break and breach, the pressure over the top. They've been able to find these opening 2 bodies, but with the pressure now onto the back line, there's an Kairos to burn out more. They're utilizing the full stretch of this utility to try and apply the pressure.
I mean, Hibana is really good against Azami if you think about it, right? You only need 1 Excaros to get rid of the barriers. You can use it as well to get rid of the Aruni charges. So, really a very utility-heavy operator in this current lineup against the Misa. Misses the opportunity, will be swung on by the Planks player before the trade kill comes through.
Seora stuck around to find out, and they did. Heady get the revenge, but still, it's another player gone off the board. It's a fair trade at this point. Seora had utilized utility and their life for a good cause and purpose. Now, They've got the verticality, they've got 30 seconds, they've got the kit at least, but really not much beyond that. They're trying to take care of some of this utility, force at least a pocket of space. But at this point, Spear, they just have to sort of hold their arms back a little, give themselves a fair stretch. The break is coming through. The burnout of the utility, and now this, the push through onto a door that you assume is going to get called. No, not instantly. The Sledge is just going to hold on from above. There's a spray through. They've rotated around on the side of pillars, potentially. No, the plant has come through. There's the rotate. It's a little bit late, but they still make success. Oh. There's the drop. Crazy Boy with the double. And Spear Gaming find their third round.
Talon just dropped down on him. Wasn't able to connect the shots into the frost there, but still would have found himself in a very, very hard situation to try and go for the clutch there. Two players coming from the direct side, one still near the pillars to go for a flank. It's well done by Spear. They held on well. They managed to get those first couple entries and then fell back when the time was right. Just leaving enough of a base to still find another kill onto that top floor. Well done on the verticality though, but they also realized, hey, we do not need to stop them from going for the plant. We just need to get that retake. So let them get that plant down. We'll just take them down afterwards because we'll know exactly where they are. 45 seconds, plenty of time to go for a 4-on-2 situation. And now Talon, only 2 rounds more of a lead. Back towards the top floor, they will head. And Spear opted to go here for the defense again. Now again, the last time they were here, I think they won it utility-wise. It was just Demek walking in, finding 3 headshots in a row. That really screwed them over. So if they play this very similarly, just make sure that you can shut him down when he does go through. That's the one difference I ask you to make.
The first of, well, a necessary 4, but a potential 3 perfect rotation is what, as we said, Spear was the true challenge on. Then you're playing your tertiary sites and trying to win them regardless. They're back up here towards the top. You've already commented on the success story that could have been built here before. They've pulled away Royboy. Now with the pockets of clash in front of them is going to try and act as a little bit more of a sort of problematic rebuff. But they have the hatch to drop down, and they can always pull themselves back towards White Window if they wanted to as well.
Yeah, and of course the shield always does go the same way when you do get stunned. So as long as you keep some cover up onto your left leg, you should be great, especially as that clash. And Pixel's a great position for that. You see him fall back to that as well. Stunts come through now, can just set one step to the side, and you're immortal at that point. Nothing's really going to be hurting you, at least not from the utility that is currently on the board.
Again,
very good use of the Excaros. It's like, not like uses Heart Breach, but just to get rid of everything else there is on the board.
They're just not messing around with it as well. And this is one of the things that I sort of talked about before, and like, they know how to respond. Royboy suffers massively. Very well-timed use of utility there. Forces the explosion as they try to pull themselves around the corner. It's, again, very good synergy between the approach here. The utility usage of Talon has been very well put together throughout this. Seora's underneath. There's also somebody else that's run around underneath as well, but it doesn't really matter. Misa gets the perfect bounce round. It wasn't caught out by the Wamai disc, and for all the compliments paid towards Talon's utility, Spears unfortunately suffers them.
I was going to say, there is a Magna. He probably feels safe in his current position, but that grenade just rolled right underneath the ability for it to be caught. And finds the kill onto the clash, and that is a massive operator off the board, a very important one, but Demek needs to be careful because he's about to be flanked coming through, but instead, he just goes into the vault himself, finds the first kill, is now in the middle of the side, and can just cut them off as they rotate back through.
I mean, it was perfect from Demek, and he just keeps putting pressure on, and Ellen Seora find one back, but there's Misa. I was going to say, with Demek's pressure, Misa was the one that opened up at the same time, drew the attention of the Wamai to give the player inside the vault the free pick, and at this point 50 seconds, they have all the time in the world to try and find that loose player and get this kit down. It's in pocket, they're going for the approach, it's just an impact in pocket to try and stop this. They swing it round, can't quite get the angle, almost do actually, just on the spray through the soft. They're going to quickly pick up sticks and try and put the plant elsewhere. They're playing a dangerous game of reverse fishing here, but it's easier for the planter to get themselves into this position. This one should and will be stuck. The cover onto the door of Lumber. Across the core, there's the reveal. Almost takes the head off, gets the second. But the 2 versus 1, one on the far side of Cigar, the other one just holding off either side of this door. The kit's in a bit of an awkward position. The pre-fire and the reveal of just that utility, but Canos doesn't want him to see any more. Spear Gaming, unfortunately, fall a little bit short for now. They can only get are slightly scrappy too, but at this point, they'd be lucky to.
They'd be lucky to get a point at this moment in time, and definitely so. Talon played that perfectly, managed to deal with that clash very early on. It's something that a lot of teams struggle with worldwide, not just in APAC. They see that clash, it's like, what do we have available to them? And what they did here is they checked what they had, and they had some concussions on that Zofia. They used it, they coupled it up with some grenades, able to dislocate the clash there. And especially, you see being thrown here by Misa. And there is a magnet you see on the top there. Now I'm wondering where it landed. It could be right in front of the pillar so it doesn't get caught. Where is it? Yeah, so it was right underneath the pillar, so it rolled through. So either it was just out of reach, or it was too perfectly timed as it came through that there was no time for the magnet to reset that detonation timer on that grenade. So well done by Talon. Quickly dispatched that player onto Pixel, which basically held on to the entirety of the piano room, which meant that they caught a lot of ground with just a couple of utility pieces there. So Demek then pushing through afterwards. Golden combination.
Talon, it has been pitch perfect on some of these approaches, and you just need to have one more to stick the landing here and get yourself back into the core of the pack. The heat at the middle, and a very necessary 3 points. You do not want to fall behind a second loss. Would have been devastating here today, and they've definitely proved that. Spear, still a lot of work left to do to try and hold on to some of the momentum from the previous week. A scrappy approach and a spray through across the board, but nothing as of yet.
You mentioned it before, 2 losses you can really not afford in a league like APAC North. 7 play days, only the top 2 will be making it to the major. We're on a very aggressive angle here, spots ahead. We'll let his position be known as the drone rolls through as well. Has to rotate out and does so successfully. No one there to catch him. We'll be aware of it though as they saw the hatch being opened up. The drone just too late to catch it.
Yeah, that's it. He's gone, he's out of there. He's found his clarity and it's a smart position. Oh, there's a team kill.
How?
I haven't...
You literally ping the Frostmat for them and you just be like, I mean, good shot, I guess, Canos, but...
Canos was on flank watch and they forgot to turn him off. It's like it's a turret. It couldn't work out. Who was
they forgot to put it in
There
friendly.
was multiple shots there.
Yeah, it was not just one shot. It was like 4 or 5 shots that went into the legs.
Maybe they
Misa.
didn't know that they dropped and they were watching and waiting, but surely you communicate what's going... I mean...
Okay, well...
It's a mistake. It was a brain-off moment. We know...
They forgot to put him on friendly mode, that's just...
But they forgot to put him on friendly mode. Okay. Well, with that, they've been handed a bit of a freebie here on the take across the top. They've lost half of the grenades. They still have 2 more from the side of Demek, who's going to start steadying across the top and bassoning up the hatches, smashing them up as he goes across. They've got the buck to double down on this soft destruction. Just catch the tail end of the player there. Roy Boy could not quite make the distance. And it's back to a 4-4.
You saw him out there with the hammer as well. He's like, no, I need the L85 at this moment in time. Let me swap. He was just in time to get that kill. Back to a 4-4 we go, but it should have been a 4-5 at this moment in time. Misa should have been able to put some support and pressure down the red stairs, but they've lost that, so they need to make up for it. Some red pings are coming through, but no real way to deal with those players as Damek pulls out a grenade, instead swaps over to the L85 and finds Crazy Boy, so definitely trying to make up for the loss they had earlier.
I mean, they've done more than that, but 15 seconds. They've still got to try and find their way to site. They're probably just going to take the hot drop onto the hatch itself. They're spraying through and trying to find a pocket of space. They're in tucked and trying to get the plant down. There's a rotate from behind there. Demek gets one more. The cover onto NL, and there's the cover over the top. A triple kill. They're able to at least find one, but even with 10 seconds on the board and an opening body going away, Talon still take the game. 3 points from Spear Gaming. It's a Talon day.
It's not just an opening body going away, it is multiple shots from a DMR being sent towards your friendly because they had no clue.
They don't even...
It was a slight miscommunication, but they definitely made up for it. So they cannot be too upset about that. Probably will have a bit of a word afterwards to be like, hey, what happened at that moment in time? Could have lost us around, potentially, you know, points in the end, but not the case here. So we don't have to dwell on about it for too long. It is going to be 3 points for Talon. With that, they will find themselves in that shared forward place together with Spear right now, waiting, of course, for the remainder of those matches to see where they truly end up at the end of the day.
But we have a team now, once again, fighting in amongst the middle of the pack. We'll have a quick break before we're back with the desk to break it down.